Welcome
to the Bring Me to Life podcast.
It's time to wake up
and shine on. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Bring Me to Life podcast. Thanks for waking up and shining on with us. Yeah, so this is technically part 4 of our Divine Relationships series we've been doing for the month of February here in 2021.
Yeah, I've been happy to be here with you.
Yeah, it's been a good discussion, and I think we are going to continue it throughout many more podcasts to come. We're going to change topics a little bit here on the main feed. We're going to take some of our spicier discussions to Patreon at some point. But today we're going to get pretty spicy too, because we're talking about divine sexuality and confidence. And I'm, like you said, I'm grateful to be here with you too, Selo. That's going to be good. Yeah.
I think spices really make cooking a very fulfilling experience and adds a lot of different kind of sensations to your eating experience.
Definitely. And the same goes for adding spice to your relationships. And, that can be adding spice to your intimate relationships, your romantic relationships with your partners, but also that can be
with yourself.
With yourself. It can be being willing to talk about, these different experiences with your friends, even releasing that sort of taboo energy, because, it's hard for people to talk about both sexuality and personal confidence, because if people start to look and feel confident and in their jam, often, some people's circles can't handle that. And it's like they start to go back into their shell. Like as soon as they find their confidence, if it's not responded to in their friend group or their family group, they're like, oh, maybe my ego's not in check. And they start to cower, and their sexuality starts to, be not as fun, because they're like, well, I'm doing something wrong. Now I feel guilty. I tried to talk about it with people and got turned down. Yeah,
I'm definitely one of those. I'm definitely one of those people who overanalyzes everything they say. So, even with just regular stuff, I'll say something to someone, and I'll just overanalyze. I said the wrong thing. They're going to think I'm not a good person. But especially with sexuality, because it is so intimate, and it's so, you got to be so vulnerable with that. You're getting naked, so putting yourself out there is really, it's hard. And if you don't get that response, I've done it before, or I've said something and didn't get that response that I guess I was hoping for, and it was like, ooh, no, do they think I'm a jerk? Do they think I'm a bad person because I feel this way?
Vulnerability, that's the word I was talking about, is such a interesting thing, because it takes so much energy, power, guts, and confidence to get vulnerable. And then if it's not responded to in a specific way, it's so easy to lose that confidence in vulnerability again. And it comes to some discussion with rejection and the fear of being rejected for who you are. And in discussion with what we're talking about tonight with sexuality and confidence, it's a fear of being rejected for something that's so instinctive to us and natural for us as beings here, to have a sexual drive and a desire to be confident and proud of who we are. And that's crazy that it's become so taboo, because we're all born with this divine right to be powerful and to be beautiful and to be sensual and sexual. And we're born because of sex, and people are so afraid to talk about it and explore it, and to even honor how they feel about it in their own sexuality.
Yeah. Well, I can only speak from my experience, but, I grew up in a certain kind of religious expectation where there were all these boundaries, and there were these perceptions that, sex and sexuality was not a good thing, and that by doing it, we were, sinning or whatever like that. But, I'm as I am now in this here and now, I definitely feel a lot differently about sin, and sexuality is definitely a form of love, and God is love. Sex is when in certain forms, sex is a very loving expression.
It should be. To me, the concept of divine sexuality, it's an ecstasy experience. It's the ability to be so connected and in tune with your femininity and your masculinity. And, that doesn't mean that it has to be a feminine and a masculine coming together. It can just be like within your own self. You're going into some very, again, like, instinctive, and there's another word I'm trying to think of, but, like your most natural tendencies, to, want to connect in that kind of energy. Barbaric, that's not the word I'm looking for. There's like
when we were cave people.
Yeah, that's the term I'm looking for, but it's like slipping my mind right now. But like it goes back that far to wanting to just interact with a being that also can feel and sense and touch. And back then there was no, terminologies for the different kinds of love either. Like, do you think cave people were judging each other if two guys or two girls were interacting? They were just excited to see each other and be with each other and to be able to touch each other and witness each other. Like, I don't think that there was ever that kind of discussion until religion actually came into it from different perspectives. Like, if you look at a lot of different civilizations, there were a lot of orgies and group sex and group, interactions and things like that. And it wasn't until religion sort of said, this is bad, don't do it this way, you must be married and it must be a man and a woman, that there started to be this major judgment around things. Some people were like, they were so sensual that's where a lot of interesting bloodlines got woven together, or even ancestral things happened, because sex was such a big thing and natural thing that there wasn't really a judgment put on it until religion came into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so interesting to even look at the Bible and see some of the stories at the very beginning in there, and then see some of the stories, later on in that book, because it talked about being fruitful, like just go out and have sex and have babies and do all that stuff. And then all of a sudden now it was like, okay, now you only get one person.
Well, that, and it became that sex should only be about reproduction, that it wasn't about the confidence and the connection of your own body. It wasn't about the energetic,
like, love between you and another. Basically, I see it as like we're all a reflection of the divine. Like, it's the divine loving the divine.
Yeah, and we've all been born with this divine right to exist and to interact with each other. And it should be okay to explore and to feel ecstasy. But somewhere along the lines, most people, and especially women, have had their power stripped from them in this area, through generations and generations of being told this is bad, this is taboo, don't show too much skin here, don't, be the problem, don't, like, it's crazy to me that especially young women are told that they're the problem for wearing certain kind of clothes, or for, being, sensual and exploring their confidence. Like, when women start to have hormones, they want to explore their confidence and, show their body, or see their bodies change, and they begin being fascinated with each other and other beings. And then often grown men, not trying to make too many judgments, but often grown men tell them, you can't dress a certain way because it tempts me. And then they start to lose that confidence and that sensuality and that ability to want to explore themselves and be themselves and find what works for them, because they're bad for, tempting someone else to want to touch them in a certain way, for just being themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think it should, fall on someone to, worry about the actions and other things of other people. Like, we should be, as men, we should be taught how to control our sexuality and how to control our emotions, and it obviously hasn't been like that for a very long time. I think it's changing now. I think a lot of us men are starting to realize, how fucked up it's been with it, and how forced it's been. And now we're getting to more consent, more to respect, and hopefully we're taking a new direction with our sexuality as a collective, as a male species. Even
consent is so huge, and I'm not even trying to hate on the divine masculine, because I actually know a lot of men that are searching for more like intimate unions and like open communication with partners, and even like a lot of men just feel like women try to push relationships on them. And that's where communication is really powerful in discussing with people of interest, like what your needs are, what your desires are, what your fantasies are, whether that's a fantasy of something intimate and sexual or a fantasy of like a divine union, a marriage or children. You need to talk about these things because it helps build confidence and connection and bonding in a relationship, and also so that everybody's on the same page and you can feel excited about the interactions that you're having together, both intimately and, even platonically. Like if you decide you guys aren't good for each other, maybe you've already had intimate experiences. You need to know how to communicate that so you don't destroy friendships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, friendships are really powerful. Human connection is really powerful, and if you're really vibing with somebody, especially in your mission and like business wise, creative wise, like whatever, even if you can't connect, sexually and energetically and physically, like you can still do other things together if you're like, good friends still, if that connection is still there. Like you don't have to get rid of it just because of one area.
Some people their boundaries change too. And I think it's important for everyone to, remember who you are and take pride in your own personal boundaries. Know that it's okay to like what you like and to communicate that, because that's key. Like sometimes people get married and they're in monogamous heterosexual relationships. And after a few years of it, they realize, maybe they're more bisexual or pansexual or even asexual, and they just don't want to have sex, but they're still like attracted to a person that's just not what their body's for. And you got to know what your boundaries are and communicate them.
Mm-hmm. That definitely builds a lot of confidence.
Yeah, knowing that and knowing who you are definitely can build confidence, and just loving your body in whatever form it's presented as now, because some people, they're having a really hard time connecting with their physical body. And a lot of people, they'll make changes to that body, whether that is like something more natural or more deeply cosmetic in other ways. But finding a way to just embrace your body, any shape or size or sexual orientation, and embracing it and building that confidence around it because you were given it for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Been a long journey for me to accept my sexuality, and having a partner who I've been able to talk about stuff with has been really helpful for me to, be okay with that part of myself and be able to begin to express and explore and, love that part of myself.
Yeah, it's been really healing for us as a divine partnership to hold space to discuss, past relationships. That's not something that I know that a lot of couples can handle. They don't allow that exploration and that discussion of past relationships, let alone like what their future could hold. They can't handle thinking of somebody's like previous experiences before them. But those are some powerful, powerful stories and interactions into knowing how and why your partner is the way they are. And, kind of like breathing through the uncomfortable discussion of maybe the first time your partner intimately connected with someone, even if it wasn't you, because you might start to learn some of their triggers or their turn-ons or even their fantasies by just holding space to see like what was their introduction to sexuality. And maybe it wasn't something that was planned and it wasn't divine at all. It was something really traumatic and traumatizing, but holding space for that discussion so that you can understand your partner on a bigger way, that's been huge for us. Like you've just let me kind of walk through everything so that I can understand it and witness, like what's happened to me both on an exciting and terrifying level, so that when I go into a sexual experience, I'm not traumatized again by reliving those things, because now I've created new memories with you healing through it. And on that, I kind of also want to say that you have to own your own trauma and your own healing experience. You can't expect your couple or like your partner to do it for you. Like I don't expect you, Selo, to heal that for me, but just letting me talk through what has happened to me has been so powerful in helping me find my confidence again.
It's like writing it down where it just gets it out of your energy in a way.
Yeah, and it lets me just take responsibility for things. Like, I'm not an angel in that respect either. There's been relationships where I feel like I've hurt partners I've been with because I wasn't maturely ready to, show up for them, or, it wasn't the right time and place. But being able to share that with you and be like, I kind of still really care about this person. Not that I have to talk to them, not that I need to interact with them, but that there's a different kind of like love, honor, and respect there for people. That's a pretty taboo discussion for a lot of couples. But the fact that you held space for it and could honor, that people can love people they've been in relationship with in different ways and still be in a very devoted and loyal relationship. That communication was key. Like, if we wouldn't have had that discussion, it would have maybe made me feel guilty or ashamed for, still caring about somebody, when honestly, like, again, going back to the beginning, love is the answer. And like, we should continue loving people that we've interacted with. Like, why hate everybody and end everything on such a negative note?
Right. If it's not toxic.
A huge part. Yeah. There doesn't need to be the toxic energy.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't need to stay in contact with people who are toxic for you just because they're familiar. But,
Definitely.
if you're still connected with somebody and they're your friend and like it's a good relationship, I don't think it's healthy to like stop somebody from having that kind of relationship. And just for me, I see things, I guess, in a unique way, but I'm learning maybe not so unique. But I just, I see you as a really powerful, beautiful human, as like my friend. I don't see you as something that I possess, as something that I own, as something that I'm like, this is mine and nobody else can have. I like freedom. I like having a committed relationship, and it's hard to find a balance between the two, but communication and talking about it, and yeah, that definitely really helps.
Yeah, and as much as you like freedom and, like not allowing each other to be each other's property, we both know that we would fight for each other's like honor and love and like our connection. Like,
Definitely.
There's a difference between, like letting an old flame or even a new flame come in and rock that our relationship as the foundation we've built. And that kind of brings me to the freedom you mentioned. Like, something that's been really powerful for us too is like in previous relationships, I've made friends with people and, sometimes they'll have an interest in me or I'll have an interest in them, or not even an interest, just like there's an energy there and it makes it awkward. And that starts to build like a guilt. In another perspective, maybe it's not that, but maybe there's a partner that, really likes to look at intimate videos or porn or, whatever. Or they like to talk to somebody that makes you feel uncomfortable. But because the discussion's not there, there starts to be this guilt and this shame built up around it. Where if it's just like, I can be like, hey, Selo, so I saw this person that I haven't seen in a long time. They've really changed. And, like, they're kind of cute now. Like, it's just, it feels good to say that, like, I felt an attraction to them. It doesn't mean that I want to, have sex with them. It doesn't mean that I'm like going to leave you for them. But it was nice to see them looking good, and like them looking good made me feel good. And to be able to not feel guilty for like feeling that like excitement for that person is kind of a good feeling, because I think a lot of relationships just get rocked as soon as somebody might think somebody else is cute or interesting. Like, God forbid that you think somebody is interesting that's not your partner, and you think that they're the only person you can be attracted to in any way, shape, or form. Like, that's really uncomfortable and can make somebody feel really, really guilty. And it's crazy how so many relationships can't handle even that kind of discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It makes it, there's a lot of emotions in relationships, and especially with like jealousy mixed with non-communication is a really potent drink to kind of knock you down on the ground, give you some scraped knees and whatnot. But I For me, I just feel happy when I know that you're happy. I enjoy watching you shine. And I enjoy watching the way that you affect people and bring smiles to their face.
That makes me feel good. I think there's a term for that. I think, is it compersion?
Compersion?
Just being excited that your partner is honored and respected, and like their joy brings you joy, whether that involves you or not. It's like that idea of just wanting the best for your partner and the people that you love. I think that's so powerful.
Yeah.
I am going to switch gears here for a second, though, because I think that talking about the kind of the infidelity or the discussion around porn and other people, I think is a big thing. I work with a lot of people in my soul sessions, and something that does get brought up a lot is like people will break up with somebody because, they caught their boyfriend or their girlfriend looking at porn or, texting somebody. And I think that texting somebody is a huge boundary thing, because if they know that person on an intimate level and you guys haven't set a boundary, that's really, that's a different kind of interaction.
Can cause a lot of chaos in a relationship.
Yeah, that's basically cheating. But the porn thing, I think, is a discussion that couples need to have. Some couples don't realize that their partner doesn't care. Other couples don't realize that their partner really cares. And some people don't see the difference between all of it. And I think that, everybody's different. Every couple's different. Every person's boundary is different. Some couples watch porn together. Some people go to strip clubs together, like whatever gets them aroused. But you have to have that discussion, because I think when you don't have the discussion, that's where it gets kind of like shady and uncomfortable for everybody.
A little awkward.
Yeah, like the discussion.
It's awkward to have the discussion, but I think even more awkward, to not.
Traumatizing to not, and to, catch your partner doing that, and then you feel like you're not good enough. That was a thing for me. It's like, I don't care if you watch it, but you better like make sure that I feel like I'm being honored and respected. It better not take away from our relationship, and it better be within like your own, like a certain terms, like not in my face kind of thing. And like, but if you don't tell me and I catch you, and it's just like, not like you don't tell me in the moment, but like at the beginning of a relationship, then it feels like you're trying to be sneaky about it or something. Like, take away the sneakiness. Be like, hey, I'm really attracted to this thing. It's a fantasy I have. I don't know if it's a thing you have, but can I, research it? To me, it's like certain kinds of it is research. Like you learn from,
you learn, definitely learn.
Now, the same sense,
you learn what you like.
You don't want to expect your sex life to be a porno, though.
Right.
Like that's some high expectations for a lot of couples, and that's not fair either. But you don't know what your fantasies are and things unless you start exploring stuff with each other. And if it's completely taboo, you grow up in a house or a home or a family community that sex isn't talked about, or a religion where it makes you like evil or a demon for accessing it. Like, you're not going to know until you start doing some research, and it's probably going to be more fun if you can find a partner to do the exploring with.
Yeah, it is. I love exploring all kinds of things, especially sexuality. I think it's just one thing that I really enjoy and appreciate, and am grateful that I have that ability to. And I think it's pretty amazing that so many creatures and life forms here on Earth have that ability. Like all the insects, all the mammals, all the whales in the ocean, the trees, they basically have tree orgies together. Frogs, like, they're always getting down together. Like, it is so wild how sexual all of life is on this planet.
Yeah, and it just becomes so taboo for humans to talk about it. I think it comes down to it because sex sells, and if you allow the sexuality to be out there, then you can't benefit from it or like make money off of it. And if you make children think that it's unnatural, then you get to control it through the media and things like that, where it's traumatizing. And I think the generation right before many of us, they didn't get to have the discussion. Either their parents were super open or super closed, and there was no real middle ground for many, many people. But the millennials and this next generation that's coming up through here, they're starting to be more communicative, more open to the discussion, more understanding that, you know, sex isn't just a binary discussion either, and that people can love each other in so many different ways, platonically, non-platonically, monogamy, there's non-monogamy, there's, you know, there's so many different ways to love, be loved, share love, and find that inner sexual drive, that sexual divinity. But first, before all of it, is finding your own personal confidence.
Yes. And we are learning about all of that. I think we're gearing up, and we're really shining a sacred light on sexuality. And you know, when I was growing up and I was a kid, again, it wasn't talked about, like you said. Like, that was my parents, not talked about. And it just wasn't a healthy view of sex and sexuality. And, you know, I think that main collective perspective is shifting, and we're realizing it's not bad. It's just a part of life, just as much as eating and just as much as dancing. And, you know, it's something that we're not I think the reason that it's been like sex sells and just kind of like taken over by the media and advertising is because we've allowed it to kind of shrink into the shadows and to see it as something bad, like violence, like, you know, some of the TV shows, like, and it's not. It's so beautiful. It's like praying. It's like meditating.
It doesn't have to be so animalistic either. It doesn't have to be, you know, like heavy and hard. It can be super sensual and super intimate and loving and just beautiful. That exchange of energy is very sacred. And like, to me, it's more powerful to really have an intimate connection with your sexual partners. I want to say I didn't live in the age of, you know, all the different sex apps, because, you know, Selo and I got together like right when those apps started
right before
becoming,
Tinder.
Like, before Tinder became
we got
big.
together like right before Tinder. It was a
like,
big thing.
So that wasn't ever something that I explored, was just like random hookups. Like, there's always been intimate connections for me, and I'm not saying that random hookups aren't bad. I've had some interesting ones too, but it's always been so much more powerful when there's a connection with the person, because I know that I'm going to carry a piece of that energy with me, because as a woman, typically there's something being inserted in me. So my energy body is completely affected by that exchange, that energetic exchange. And it's so crazy and can be so powerful, and it can be either super, super blissful in a state of ecstasy, or it can be the most traumatizing, worst experience ever. And you have to find that inner energy balance to control it. And you were saying how the media wanted to, you know, make it bad. And I think it's because they wanted to control our guilt and our shame. They wanted to control our sacral and our solar plexus, because then that built fear in us, which also took over our root chakras, which meant that they had control over all of our most lower earthly chakras. So how in the heck are we supposed to access our upper chakras, our voice and our throat and our intuitive third eye connection, or our crown, releasing the attachment, because we're so attached to this image of taboo sexual connections and this image of it being bad to feel the joy and the bliss of just being in that physical state of exchange. And, you know, it's hard sometimes to release that guilt and shame, but it's powerful when you can let it not control you anymore, and you can turn it into instead confidence and community and discussion, and release the taboo-ness of it all, and take responsibility for it, and just share life experiences and allow yourself to, you know, share your fantasies, talk about your positive experiences instead of just the negative ones. You hear about how if people get raped and tortured and sexual abuse at young age, but you rarely hear people talk about the blissful moments, because they almost feel guilty for having those too.
I know. It's hard when we are only focused on the hard, bad, traumatizing experiences with stuff. I've had my fair share of sexual traumas, and that's part of why it's made me so hard to be open with my sexuality and my openness and all that. But I've been getting more into letting it come out, and it's been really nice, and it's been really beautiful, and I think it's making this a better world. But I will say, when you're starting to open up and explore your sexuality, when you start to interact with others, that energy is so powerful, and like you said, it does kind of stay with you. And so making sure that you're connecting with somebody who has harmonious energy, and maybe who is at least has balance and grounding with their own sexuality and with their own energy. Because if theirs is off, then it's going to throw yours off too if you interact with that.
Yeah, that's so powerful. So powerful. Yeah, and just communicate what you want. Tell your partner what you want. Tell your potential partner what you want. Communicate. Communication is sexy. Being able to talk about it and talk about what you want is sexy. Tell your friends, and don't overpower them.
To all your friends right now.
You don't have to overpower them, but open the discussion, and if this is something that maybe this discussion turns you on and you're like, yes, why aren't more people talking about this? Be a safe space. Don't overpower people. Don't cross people's boundaries, but find ways to let people know you're a safe space, and you'll be surprised how many people will start talking to you about different things, and you'll realize that you're not so alone. But somebody's got to start somewhere, and being a safe space to hold those discussions. And watch people's body language and the way that they present themselves too, because maybe they're not good at setting their boundaries. But again, there needs to be more safe spaces for this discussion and exploration, and for people to be held, because people aren't talking about sex and their health and their connection, and it's kind of blocking a lot of love in the world.
I enjoy talking about it. I would say, when we first started to talk about it, maybe I got a little carried away there and got a little too excited and too hype, and just kind of didn't have that grounding and understanding of the delicacy and the sacredness of it all. And so that's something that I struggled with early on, and I've learned a lot from it. I feel a lot more grounded, a lot more calm, and I feel kind of like a baby. I'm still growing and learning, and just still kind of fresh to having a healthy relationship where we can, talk and help each other grow.
Selo's inner Scorpio was like, a partner that'll talk sexual things with me and I'm not shunned. Yeah,
shout for the rooftops, everybody.
I think that we should be able to talk to our partners about things. And, I have a Scorpio moon, though. Maybe that has something to do with it. Not to bring astrology into it, but I have my Leo sun, which just makes me want to remind everybody to find their confidence and to be proud of who you are. Be proud of who you are. Know if you're more dominant or if you're more submissive, and talk to your partner about it. Talk to your partner if you have fantasies that you want to explore before you die. Don't just be ashamed of them and hide them, because that makes you maybe less excited about sex, especially if you're doing the same thing over and over, or you really want your partner to pleasure you in a certain way, but you've never talked about it. Maybe your partner doesn't even know that that's an option on the table. Talk about the things. I know it might be uncomfortable at first, but it's more uncomfortable to live a life not knowing how to embrace who you are.
Yeah, definitely. It can, be a hard experience when you have these fantasies, but you're not able to share them with your most intimate partner. And, yeah, I don't know. Fantasies are nice to have. I think they can be very healthy sometimes. And, yeah.
I think they can be healthy. Some fantasies can get really weird.
Yes.
There's a lot of out there ones, but there's people out there to support those too.
I was going to say, there's probably somebody out there who has the same fantasy as you do.
But if you don't communicate it, you're just not going to know.
Right.
But yeah, you got to hold space for that. And then you have this really intimate, unique bonding experience. Maybe you like to dress up and be silly. Not even dress up in a sexual way with like lingerie, but like you just like to dress up. Or maybe you like to go to a fancy place or like go on adventures and explore that, and that like turns you on because you're not at your home space. Or, you know, maybe there's a certain show that really gets you in the mood and you want to watch it with your partner. Or you really like this outfit that your partner wears and you've never got to experience playtime with them in it. So you know, like, tell them. It's little simple things, little simple gestures can change your whole game.
Definitely. I would like to encourage, you know, the more feminine energies out there to, if you don't talk about these things, if you don't share what you like, then I highly encourage that you do, because as a more masculine type, I really appreciate the guidance.
Yeah, like people are always like, oh, figuring out guys is so confusing, or figuring out girls is so confusing, and not even to gender it, like figuring out people are so confusing. It's because people don't want to talk about things, and they're like so ashamed of just being them and allowing themselves to feel the feels. Like, it's crazy. It's just crazy. I was trying to find a quote. There was a quote that I had saved about it, but I'm not fast enough in my phone.
Yeah. Quote about relationships and sexuality, divine sexuality.
Yeah, it was like just connecting with people in a unique way.
Maybe one day we'll do a divine sexuality program workshop, and you'll by then have found that special quote that you're looking for, and you can totally include it then, and everybody will get it. And I'm sure it's a powerful quote. You always have really powerful quotes. So
yeah, sometimes I'll just like be thinking about things, and I'll get on Instagram, and it'll be like a thought that I had, and I'll be like, oh, that was so powerful. Or you'll like send me the same one, and it'll just be real funny.
Same one that you were vibing with?
Yeah. But one of them, here's one that you did send me. This is not the one I was looking for, but it was just saying, like, find someone that you can be completely free with, sexually, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and cosmically, and just go fucking wild. Just go fucking wild. That's the kind of partner you want. You don't want a partner that you can't talk to. Like, I have one of my client friends, and she was really, really interested in somebody, and she had to like force them to talk to her sometimes, and I was like, that's not the kind of partner you want. Like, yeah, there's introverted people, but when you find your person, like, you want to talk to them. Like, right. You're pretty introverted, but once you started talking to me, like, we found our flow. And now she's moved on. She's like found another person she's interested in, and she tried to communicate with that original partner just even on a friend level, and she just kind of giggled and was like, okay, that energy was really dry. Like, why was I as intrigued by that? But it was because she didn't even know that there was an opportunity to find somebody to be like spiritually and emotionally and just cosmically aligned with in a different way.
She wasn't like aware, oh, that could be a thing.
Yeah, like you won't have to force it. That doesn't mean you can't explore it. Like, you can explore connections with people that aren't your forever. Like, that's how you get to know things too. Like, I admit that like before Selo, I had intimate relationships. Some of them were great. Some of them were absolutely fucking horrible. And I learned a lot about what I did and didn't like. Some of those, you know, triggers carried on in bad ways. Some of them turned into like sort of fetishes and things that make me really excited. And at first I felt guilty for having those things that like turned me on, because they were something that I explored early in my sexuality, and it was like a good experience for me. And then I was like, well, is it bad for me to want to experience that with my now partner? And I don't think so. Like, being able to communicate with you, like, hey, this thing turns me on. Like, I like being kissed here, or, you know, it's better to touch me here than there, because when I've been touched there, it's been a very bad experience, or something like that. And just telling you, and you being receptive. And at first, I think it overwhelmed you. You started to get too much in your head about it. Like you said, you think a lot about it, but then you found your flow, and you started to realize, and like, just you knowing helped me work through it.
You got to find your process on how to process, because when you talk, a lot of emotions will come up, and maybe initially that first conversation you'll feel really, excited, and then maybe that adrenaline wears off a little bit, and you're like, oh shit, like what did I say? What is going on? Do they still, But you got to find a process to take it all in, to ground it all into the reality, and keep moving with it.
Beautiful. I agree. You gotta find your flow.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta find your flow.
Find your flow.
How you feeling? You have any other major PowerPoints you want to talk about?
Power points. Here we go. This is Selo, and I would like to say that a PowerPoint for me is move your body. Find a way to get the energy flowing. If you are stuck sexually and you're in a dry spell, maybe, I would say take yourself on a little date. Dress up for yourself. Like, find ways to be intimate with yourself through dance, through touch, through doing something that you love, maybe painting on yourself. I don't know.
I was listening to a Sacred Sexuality podcast that came up in my recommended things once, and this woman was talking about, meditating. She called it meditating and masturbating. Meditating. And I was like, that is hilariously great. So that's another thing that I just thought of that we didn't talk about. That has become taboo, to touch yourself. And when you said move your body, I also thought touch your body, explore your body, love every bit of your body. And if you don't love it, accept it. There's a lot, I'm going to say right now, there's a lot of parts of my body I can't say that I'm honestly in love with, but I accept them. And the more I accept them, the more confident I feel. And I realize, bodies are weird, and the more you can interact with them and touch them, you can start to use your mind to help mold them, the whole epigenetics discussion to be like, all right, maybe this boob is bigger than this boob, but maybe I can visualize them both just being perky and nice. Not that that matters, but maybe that's something you want. I don't know. I'm getting a little weird now because I want you guys to get comfortable with your body and to explore it.
Yeah, rub your shoulders, rub your neck. If you feel comfortable, rub your nipples.
Rub something. Explore yourself. You don't have to explore your partner. Explore yourself.
Pat yourself on the butt a little bit. Just I got a nice booty.
Dancing has helped a lot with my confidence and my sexuality. And there was a long time in my life that I couldn't dance, and I was afraid to dance, and I was afraid to dance in front of others because I was afraid that it made me too vulnerable. I was afraid that if I danced in front of especially men, that they were going to invade my bubble and take my power away. And honestly, the more I dance, the more I feel my power come back into my body, and it's just so intuitive. And there's still a word that I can't think of that's really getting to me, but it's just very natural.
Yeah, there's been so many words that have come to my mind that are so close to the word that you're thinking of, and I'm so close to it. Dang it, now I can think about it as what word are we missing? But I think, maybe you shouldn't have, being, a woman and feeling vulnerable while you're dancing. I feel like that shouldn't even have to be a thing. Women shouldn't have to feel afraid to dance. I was going to say just stick out your arms and spin really fast and really create that bubble around yourself. But, women shouldn't have to do that. Feminine people shouldn't have to do that. Even more feminine men, you shouldn't have to feel that way either. Even more masculine men, they shouldn't have to feel vulnerable dancing, because as myself, a little more masculine, it took me a long time to break out of my shell to be comfortable dancing in front of people, because you got to move your hips, for some reason a lot of us men are taught to be rigid and strict, and we don't realize how nice it is to learn how to move your freaking hips, especially during sex.
There's a lot of important hip movement, or just body movement in general. I was still trying to look up that word because it's really, oh man, I need an inner thesaurus in my brain.
I know what the word is, but I can't, it's just not. It doesn't want to land in my brain right now. It's like, haha. I'm like right here, but I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna land in your brain. Basic Neander. I don't know why I keep thinking Neanderthal.
Because it's like
primal.
Haha. Primalistic. Yeah.
All right. I guess it did want to come into my brain. Thank you.
That's the closest word.
Primal.
I still don't know if that's the same word, but it's a primal instinct.
That's what I was thinking of. Primal instinct.
That was definitely one of the words I was looking for earlier. I was like, what is this? Thank you. Okay.
It's good enough.
Sorry, guys. Thanks for bearing with us. Got to give you some comedy relief here. And this has been a great discussion. You've been hanging in. If you've made it this far, we thank you. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for checking out the Divine Relationship series. There's a couple other parts.
Let us know if you listen to this, either on your stories or through a message.
Yeah, we would love to know. You take a little screenshot of wherever you're listening, post it to your favorite social media. Let us know what platform. We're on so many platforms now.
I know. We just most recently got on Pandora.
Ooh. Throwing it back. I used to listen to Pandora all the time.
I know, me too. And I was like, why not? Why not try to get it? There's still probably a bunch of people who use it.
There are a lot of people. And then we're on Spotify. We're on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Stitcher,
Deezer,
Spreaker, whatever that is. There's so many I can't even remember.
Podcast Addict.
Look up Bring Me to Life Network. Obviously, you found it on some media, so that's great. But if you're looking forward to another
you're
platform,
listening to it right now somehow.
Yeah, if you're looking forward to another platform, try to find us in your favorite media.
People are listening to anything I say right now.
Make a game out of it to give stars or ratings on all the platforms, because that helps us out so much.
Yes, if you haven't rated us and subscribed to us wherever, please do. We would love that. We're going to come out with so many cool episodes soon.
Yeah, there's some other cool stuff happening. I think we're going to talk about abundance and activating our personal gifts. I've been getting this really powerful channeled message that it is time to activate our gifts and to find our confidence and really just step into that power of abundance and knowing that we deserve it. We've all went through this death of the soul as a collective through the COVID chaos, and now it is time to embrace our power. Even if we can't, get out to the world as what used to be normal, it's time to create a new normal of feeling empowered and finding your superpower. So we're going to be talking about that. We've got some other new podcasts from other podcasters on the network. They're putting out some new episodes. We recently had some Incense and Whiskey, some Shamanic Living, some Through the Eyes of the Angels. I think Cosmic Earth Wellness is doing some cool stuff.
Yeah. And by the time people listen to this, it'll probably be ready. Cinema
Scribe. And we have a couple others that are going to be brand new to the network. So stay tuned. If you haven't checked them out, you can find those at bringmetolife.com, and then also find them on your favorite social media or podcast player. Yeah. And Patreon. Patreon's a cool thing you can check out. We actually have a patron. Thank you. I think it was Molly, who's one of our newest patrons.
Yay. Thank you, Molly.
Did a really cool relationship bonding workshop. So if you've liked this discussion on relationships and divinity and sexuality, you can go to our Patreon, join it. I believe the 1111 tier gives you access to it. And there's a workshop there that Selo and I did with some, contact improv, some discussion, some dancing. It was so much fun. I think you would really enjoy it. You can find that at patreon.com/BM2L network with the number 2, BM2L network. And join our Patreon and become a active member of this community. It helps us grow, and it helps us wake up and shine on with so many other beautiful people just by spreading the light.
Yes, and we'd just love to have you all, and really grateful to have you here right now.
Yeah. Do we want to end this with a little meditation? We've ended all the others of the series with
Sure.
meditation.
Let's go ahead and start with a little meditation by getting comfortable. Maybe wiggle your body, almost like you're... Yes.
Let's set an intention during this meditation to, find our confidence and ask ourselves, what it is that turns us on and how we can be more actively present in that. And just kind of settling in. Do you want to take the lead? Do you want me to take the lead? I've led 2 meditations already today, guys. Isn't that crazy? I did one for Paradigm Shift community. If you haven't checked them out, they're pretty cool. And then I did one for Insight Timer. I did my first Insight Timer today. was really beautiful.
You seem really excited. I was thinking about doing it, but you seem really excited, so you go ahead.
You're going to make me do 3 today? Okay.
I'm not going to make you, but you're telling me you want to in your own way.
Am I?
In your own way, you are.
Okay. I was just like, am I? I guess my spirit's just really excited about it.
She was like, okay, do you want to lead a meditation or should I lead a meditation? Because blah, 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 we have all these great ideas.
Yep. All right, guys, get comfortable. And I think that this is just going to be a beautiful time to, again, connect with your confidence. So let's breathe. And as we breathe in, we're pulling in more confidence into our bodies. And as you breathe out, release any guilt or shame that has held you back from connecting with who you really are. So breathe in confidence and out any guilt or shame. Because I want you to be able to embrace your body, to embrace your mind, your preferences, your boundaries. And I want you to explore what it would be like to have a divine sexual connection with yourself or with others in a way that you can truly be proud of who you are. What would that feel like to be able to communicate on such a level that you can explore what it is that turns you on, that brings you joy, that makes you feel powerful, confident, sensual, seen, and witnessed? What is maybe an experience that you've really wanted to bring into your reality? Some sort of intimate experience that would help you feel more fulfilled, more connected. Maybe just with yourself or again with another. And really hold space in your being for this opportunity to come forward. Now, if you feel called, we're going to do a quick little practice here. And I want you to put your hands on your heart. And I want you to increase your breathing a little bit. Because I want you to push out any previous energy and make room for new experiences, new connection to yourself and to others. You can increase that breathing. Do a little breath of fire here. Pant a little bit, that primal instinct, that word we were looking for, primal. Build up that primal energy. Get that body moving. Get that heart beating. And bring in fresh new oxygen. Call it in, and I really want you to integrate this feeling, this opportunity, this new, initiation into accepting your sensuality, your sexuality, your intimacy, your confidence. Get your panting on. Pant it out. Pant it out. Holding your heart space. Feeling that heart clear. Feeling any fear release. Any guilt disappear. Any shame be transmuted into power. You've learned from your lessons. You've witnessed your past, and you can go forward. It's time to go forward. And when you're ready, after you feel your breath really reach that peak, feel it in your whole body, you can slow down. You can move your hands, and I like to just hold them out to my side. And let that power tingle down through your fingertips. And if you want, you can massage your body then. You can explore it. You can hug it. But first, just let that power come through your fingers, your hands, integrate into your body, and then move it around. Share that energy all throughout your body. Maybe spin your neck a little, stretch out your shoulders. Really feel that power. And think of a time you felt your most confident. If you can't think of that time, think of what it would feel like to be at your most confident. And I want you to embrace that feeling. And I want you to take it with you beyond this meditation. Because you are powerful. You're in control of your sexuality and your experience and how you show up in the world. And it's all up to you to really activate that and to step into that power. So when you're ready, you can take another nice deep breath. Say, I am confident and I am awesome. I am confident and I am awesome and I am ready to connect with my sexuality, my divinity, and my power. It is your divine birthright to step into that, whatever that looks like for you, and it's different for everyone. Once you're ready to claim that, you can begin to open your eyes and hopefully see the world in an even more beautiful, blissful way, knowing that there's others out there that want to connect with you, that want to honor you, and that you don't have to be alone, you don't have to feel trapped, and that it's okay to explore. So that's all I have for you here. I hope that it has given you some things to think about and to connect on with others, and I'm really just grateful that you're here listening. Thanks for being here.
Stay awake.
And shine on always. For many of us, spirituality is just the quest to find essence or true meaning and to really just connect with a higher consciousness.
Connecting with your spirituality is very important in this life. By becoming mindful of all of it, you can realize where you are and if that is leading you to where you want to go.
Listen to the little simple things, because it's those little simple things that are going to shift you vibrationally in such a way that will prepare you to become very intuitively minded and ready to step forward on the next part of your path.
I hope you can feel the love that's inside you, it's inside me, that connects us.
Thanks for shining on with us.